Hi, Christina. Thanks so much for your great question. Let me see if I can try to help explain how you can read these charts. All right, so let me pull up my marker here. Oops. Okay. So the way that you read essentially what these charts are illustrating is that there are there's actually more than three, but three primary competing models for the origins of anthropoids. And of course, the anthropoids are the group that include current contemporary primates, apes, and humans. Contemporary apes and humans, right? And so the way that you read these charts is you start from the bottom, and you can think of time flowing in this direction, right? So down here is earlier in time or longer ago, and up here is later in time or more recent, right? And so time is flowing that way. So down here is the origin species for all of the species that you see in this chart, including from strepsirrhines, amomioids, pterosaurs, adapoids, and anthropoids. And so this species, which is unknown, we really don't have many examples of it in the fossil record. This species is evolving in time. At one point in time, right here, which was the point of last common origin between this unnamed species, this species split off from the others. Probably they entered a new environmental niche and were no longer breeding with the other group. And this group started kind of their own trajectory, their own lineage, evolutionary lineage, eventually reaching and becoming strepsirrhines, what we know as strepsirrhines. However, while they were doing that, the original group continued evolving in a particular direction. According to this model, the adapoid origin model, the last common origin of this group occurred right here, at which time this group diverged, eventually becoming amomioids, and then a smaller group diverged from this lineage, eventually becoming pterosaurs. Meanwhile, this original group continued to evolve. And in the adapoid origin model, adapoids are more recently and more directly related to anthropoids, because here we have a more recent common origin, right? So at this point in time, another lineage split, eventually leading to adapoids, and then here this lineage just continued and eventually evolving into anthropoids, right? So let's look at the amomioid origin. Pull this up again. Okay, so again, we have time flowing in that direction. More recent, earlier, right? In this model, there's this unknown ancestor for all of the primates. Existed here. It continued to evolve in that direction. But in this model, adapoids were the first to diverge. This species eventually leading to adapoids. And then the strepsirrhines were a small branch that broke off from the species, the anthropoid species, the group that led to the anthropoids, right? We have this group continuing to evolve in a particular direction. According to this model, the amomioids then diverged, and the pterosaurs were a small group that broke off from that lineage, eventually leading to the emergence of anthropoids, right? The pterosaur origin model is different still, and yet again we have time flowing in this direction. With this model, though, we have the adapoids and the anthropoids being much further apart evolutionarily speaking, right? So in this model, the lineage that eventually led to adaptoids diverged first, eventually evolving into adaptoids. Strepsirrhines were a branch, and here a little bit later in time, the lineage split off that eventually led to amomioids. And in this model, tertiaries share a more recent common origin with anthropoids, right? So what common origin, what this means here, so common ancestor, that's not very clear, but this means that this species right here that I'm trying to emphasize was not a tertiary and it was not an anthropoid yet, right? But it was something else, and we don't know exactly what species that was, and it was an intermediate species. But eventually the group that went in this direction, that split off from the original group, became tertiaries. And then the other group became anthropoids. So that is, in a nutshell, how you can read these types of charts. And I am really glad that you asked the question, because I can see that this could be kind of a confusing way of understanding. Essentially, these charts are just illustrating what was discussed in the chapter. Let me know if this helps clarify some of the questions that you had, or if you still have further questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. All right.